Blog Talk Radio.
Carol the Coach. Sex, love, and relationships. We talk about it here.
Carol the Coach. Compassion with contemporary relevance.
I am a psychotherapist. I can be your personal life coach, and I can help you with your issues. There are no problems too small or too big. You can talk about anything.
Speaker, columnist, radio TV host, and commentator. Carol the Coach brings messages of wellness and empowerment within reach of everyday people every day.
Almost 5 years ago, I lost my soulmate in an accident. He was killed in a plane crash. Life just, for me, has seemed to stop.
There are groups all over the city. I teach one. It is a specific way to start thinking so that you shift how you see the world, which then shifts your energy, and then you feel better and you actually see things differently.
Carol the Coach. Always available, too, at carolthecoach.com.
Now, I've got Russell on the line.
I'm 47 years old. I'm a truck driver. I am married. I have a wife in San Francisco.
Okay.
I haven't been home in 6 months. My thing is, I don't know if I have a sex addiction or what the problem is. Why do I want what I can't have? And as soon as I can have it, I don't want it anymore.
You're right on target when you say, I don't know if I have a sexual addiction. Well, guess what? Yes, you do. And you know what? That's my specialty, Russell. So you're at the right place. Continue.
I meet women online, and I'm in a different part of the country. I travel all 48 states, so I love sex.
I hear self-esteem issues. You never felt good enough, and you didn't feel like you were getting what you should have then, and you're reenacting that now. Do you want to change that about yourself?
Oh, yes. Hi there, everybody. I am so happy to be with you. Had a little bit of trouble getting on tonight. I think it may be because I am starting a second show. But one of the things that I absolutely know is it would take wild horses to keep me away from getting to talk with you about sex addiction, partner trauma, and tonight it's going to be mindfulness. And, one of the things that I believe about life in general, but certainly for sex addicts and even partner trauma, is that mindfulness can be so important to restoring your sense of self and managing the triggers. And it just has so many advantages. And so I'm excited that I'm going to be talking to Claire Caines tonight, who is discussing mindfulness in recovery. She's going to be sharing how she helps addicts to move out of that autopilot state. That autopilot state that we all can go into, but if you're an addict, you get into that because of the numbing that occurs naturally. And that is so important to be present and to have gratitude for what is. And so I'm just so happy that we've got an expert. She's part of the Caines Center. She founded that. And she really believes that mindfulness means paying attention in a particular way, on purpose, in the present moment, and non-judgmentally. That's a John Kabat-Zinn quote. And she has figured out how to apply it to addiction. And, one of the things that I know to be true is that clearly partners who have been betrayed can also use mindfulness to calm the body down, to get centered, and to pay attention to what is within them. And when that happens, wow, I can't emphasize enough what is going on within the body when you feel that sense of serenity, centeredness. So I can't wait to talk to her. In the meantime, one of the problems of addiction and one of the problems of sobriety is when you try to do too much of your own recovery by yourself. So if you're somebody who is really white-knuckling it, you're trying to get healthy. Maybe you have a counselor, maybe you don't. Maybe you've been to a couple of 12-step groups, maybe you haven't. Maybe you're just engulfing yourself in reading. I would encourage you to explore a whole variety of, shall I say, ingredients into the recovery process to make your recovery easier, more manageable. And when you do that, when you develop fellowship, you're not all by yourself. And when you do the important readings, whether it's spiritual or recovery, you become enlightened. One of the things that I offer through ITAP, through the Institute for Addiction Trauma, is a recovery kit that Dr. Patrick Carnes developed, and it's the first 120 days of recovery. Now, you really don't have to start at day one. You can very easily pick that up and start working the concepts, because it really has you dialoguing with your addict. It has you positioning yourself in such a way that you are able to show the addict that you absolutely know better than that part of yourself that gives in to cravings and urges and immediate gratification. And so it can really enhance the recovery process. You can always contact me at carolthecoach.com, and I can talk to you about where you can get that kit, or I can send you one specifically. It's not cheap. I sell them at my cost, which is $300, but it is a great way to get started through the first 4 months of your journey of recovery. And I'm going to just do a couple of commercials. One of the things that I really believe in is AFAR, and that is the foundation, if you will, for addiction studies. And you know that I have written a book. I've compiled it from Blog Talk Radio on sexual addiction. And it's called Sexual Addiction, Wisdom from the Masters. And AFAR, the American Foundation for Addiction Research, is really working diligently with Dr. Patrick Carnes to create studies that will show the psychiatric and diagnostic manual the next time around that sexual addiction is real. You know if you're a sex addict, or you know if you're a partner, that there's a lot of people that they don't understand what sexual addiction is. They think it's just bad behavior. They think it's a moral issue, a spiritual issue, and they don't know that it exemplifies personal, social, and issues that globally encompass all disciplines. We have addiction issues across the board, but sexual addiction is a process addiction, and it is by far the most difficult to treat. It's the most difficult to find recovery from, because it is everywhere around you. Unfortunately, that's what makes it so tough for partners, too, because they realize that it's everywhere around them. And so I really highly recommend that you go to my website, Sex Help with Carol the Coach, and you download the electronic version of Sexual Addiction, Wisdom from the Masters. I have a chapter in here. Dr. Carnes has a chapter in here. Claudia Black has a chapter in here. Dr. Michael Barta has a chapter in here. Ken Adams has a chapter in here. I mean, okay, I'm not saying me, but we got some of the sexperts in the world who have contributed to this book. I love Dr. Barbara Steffens, who wants to tell you why you should seek a partner-sensitive therapist. She's in here. I'm on that board. These people, a lot of these people I know a lot better now than I did then. Talks about attachment, and it talks about mother enmeshment issues, and it talks about defenses, and it talks about meditations for creating healthy sexuality. It is a plethora of knowledge, and every penny of it goes to AFAR for sexual addiction research. So please go to my website, Sex Help with Carol the Coach, and get the electronic version, or if you email me at carol@carolthecoach.com, I will send you a hard copy, and I'll autograph it for you. So we'll have to figure out a way for me to invoice and, send you an invoice and you pay for it and the shipping and handling, but I'd be happy to do that because I really believe in this mission. I really believe in this project. And, as therapists, we do our very best not only to help, teach you the skills and the tools that you need to create a better life for yourself, but we also want to make the world a better place. And it is one step at a time, one day at a time. It's progress, not perfection, and I am feeling so fortunate to be part of this movement because it is epidemic. It's only going to get worse. And if you're listening to the show, then you already are en route to making a difference in your own life and in the lives of others. So I appreciate that you're a pioneer in this field with me. And that's what I truly, truly believe, that we're all pioneers. This has been around for a long time, but never has it been around to the degree that it is now because of the 3 A's. It is affordable. It is accessible. And it is anonymous. And when you can participate in an illicit behavior that somehow meets an immediate gratification, and you think there aren't going to be any consequences, you go for it until you realize there are huge, huge consequences everywhere. So, again, I am so happy that there are so many people that are willing to work in this field and make a difference. Like our expert, Claire Caines, who will be sharing how she helps addicts to move out of that autopilot state that has occurred from numbing. Mindfulness is an absolutely wonderful opportunity to make a difference and to live in the moment and experience every second. So we're going to be talking about how to do that. In the meantime, I just want to encourage you to get a piece of paper, take some notes, because Claire has made it her mission to do mindfulness, and she has seen how it has worked with addiction through and through, and you just can't get this kind of education without talking to an expert. So I am excited to be having her on the show. Claire, welcome to the Sex Help with Carol the Coach show.
Hi, Carol, and hi, everyone.
Yes, they're all excited to hear. Tell us a little bit about your program. I mean, mindfulness, I remember talking to Dr. Caldwell of the Meadows, and he said, if there's one thing an addict needs more than anything, it's the ability to be mindful of their self and their addiction so that they can move it away and live the life they deserve. So tell us a little bit about how you got involved in this.
Well, I guess interested in this thing called mindfulness probably I was thinking about this. Oh, it had to be over 20 years ago, and I read the book Wherever You Go, There You Are by John Kabat-Zinn. And I just looked, I actually was fact-checking myself to see when was it that was published, 1994. So, yes, it was 24 years ago that it was published. I read it, and from there I was interested enough in meditation, mindfulness meditation, to have it on as a goal, as a personal goal every year for about 20 years, that, I put, at the year end or the beginning of the year, how people put their goals, and I'd put meditate. And the rest, I did not practice meditation in that traditional sense. And finally I took it off the goal list. I said, no, doing it differently.
Okay. So tell me a little bit about what that meant for you to meditate.
So what I came to, and it was interesting because when it came off the goal list, it was like I practice mindfulness. It's non-traditional in this sense, but it's still mindful. I move to music every day, and that is my mindfulness. I go to the gym every morning, and I do my routine, and that is my main practice, my daily practice of mindfulness, and that works for me. But
so when you go to the gym, how do you get in that state?
I'm sorry?
How do you get in the state of mindfulness in the gym?
I pay very close attention to what my body is doing. In fact, I have a mirror that I can see, and I see my posture, and I see every bit. So if I'm shifting a little to the left or the right, I see that, and now it's come to the point, Carol, where I can feel it in my day-to-day life. I can feel when I'm not aligned, and that mindfulness has carried over to other areas in my day-to-day life. And I have to tell you a funny story that happened very recently. In fact, I told this to the mindfulness group that met on Sunday. I realized I start to drop things, and things were spilling and dropping, like to an abnormal extent. I asked myself, what's going on that this is happening? It had escalated. I would drop things, and so I started trying to research myself and say, what is going on? And I couldn't figure it out. So I asked my mentor. I said, help me with this. Can I use self-hypnosis, to fix this? And she gave me some, tips on get proper sleep and exercise. And I was doing all of that. And there were her words in her response, and they were, do one thing at a time and do it very well. And then this was through email, and I was moving through my day, and I found those words came to me. I already had embodied them, that I was paying closer attention, just really doing one thing at a time very well.
It's interesting you say that, because clearly back in the 90s, everybody was encouraged to multitask. And what we have found is that when you multitask, you absolutely don't do as good of a job, and you take away from that experience of being in the moment and doing something really well.
Yes, that's and that is not just that is science. You know that, girl. It's science that our brains can we do it? Can we do 10 things? Yeah, but not well, and it actually hurts us. Actually hurts us.
So now, you do have, obviously, a mindfulness practice in your own life, and then I heard you just reference that you have a mindfulness group. Would that be on a Sunday?
Yes. It's an 8-week program. It's a group, and small group, and we meet, and there's specific things that we do. I think you might be asking about that later. What specific practices do I teach in the group?
Mm-hmm. And so, obviously, you have made it your mission to help groups of people to learn mindfulness because you know that it's very effective for people who have addictions. Tell me how you made that correlation.
I went to a training sponsored by the group that trains sex addiction therapists, and it was about mindfulness-based relapse prevention, and I was taken with, what we did. Of course, we experienced it. We lived it for, it was like 5 days intensively. We lived it, and it was awesome, and I made the decision, this was probably 3-4 years ago, and I made the decision then, I want to take this and use it and teach it and live it. And I did.
All right. So then, what do so many people, they want to meditate, but they either don't feel disciplined enough to stick with it or aren't sure that they're doing it right. So what would you advise people who are maybe being too hard on themselves about meditation and mindfulness?
I understand that very well. So don't like to meditate, quote unquote. Call it something else, and right? I mean, call it something different. And here's what I'm thinking about that. A lot of people start the day with prayer. That's what a lot of people start their day that way. Other people start their day with setting an intention for the day, which I do, and it's somewhat the same thing in a way. It's affirming how you'd like to move through the day, and more, on a larger scale, move through this life. And that prayer or setting an intention, for example, an intention for the day for me might be focus, just one word, and focus. Or, the fuller version is focus on doing one thing at a time very well. And that is meditative. Is it the 45 minutes that the regular meditators who do that, the traditional, what they recommend? No. But, it works. And if you don't like to call it that, and if you will never have 45 minutes a day, every day, for the rest of your life to do it in that way, do it differently.
Okay, so now let me just ask you, what are some simple tips for bringing mindfulness into one's life? I mean, what would you advise your clients who are either riddled with addiction or maybe are in good addiction recovery and want to fine-tune what they're doing?
Very good. And what you just said is fine-tune. And the word that I use for bringing mindfulness into one's life, whether, it's, anyone, tuning in. So tuning in to what's happening within yourself, in your body, your thoughts, and your emotions, with small things that you do, washing the dishes, playing with your kids, taking a shower. I mean, this is really funny because a friend of mine, a really awesome guy, said, he said, some showers are better than others. And and I know exactly what he meant. It's like you can really pay attention and tune in while you're taking a shower. You can feel, appreciate, you can feel the water, particular pressure, hitting your body, your head first and then your body and then washing, all of your, and maybe the scent of the soap and, everything. So that is a way of being mindful, is really tuning in while you're taking your shower.
And so, obviously, if you really pay attention to something that you like, something that you enjoy experiencing, like a shower, how does that help your addiction?
Okay, so there's specific mindfulness techniques for recovering addicts, and there are many, and there are a few that I teach in the group, and I'm going to give you three. Really, I'm going to give you three. Is that okay to address this now?
Absolutely.
Okay. So one is take 3 breaths, and there's a particular way to do this. For example, if you're somehow activated, emotionally activated, or reactive in a given situation, inhale fully and hold, and then release forcefully. Another deep inhale, hold, release forcefully again, and on the third deep inhale, hold it and release gently and slowly. Simple, right? That's rather simple.
Yeah, it's very
the active
simple.
Addict. Oh.
So go ahead, explain how that would help addiction.
So you know that most addicts, especially those who are in active addiction, are on autopilot. They often react to thoughts and emotions and without really full awareness of what's happening and what the consequences will be of whatever their actions are. So becoming aware of what's happening in the present moment, in their bodies, in their thoughts, and their emotions, takes them out of autopilot and allows them to make choices that will have them either stay in recovery or not in such a way that will be harmful to other people or themselves.
And so that process by which when they're more in tune with what's going on inside and they're more congruent with that and they're more aware of that, that will stymie, if you will, kind of that addictive urge or craving. It'll help to calm it or quiet it.
Yes. So yes, and there's one in particular too, but the one I'll describe first is sober breathing. Sober is an acronym. S is for stop or slow down. O is observe, and that is exactly what we were just speaking about. Observe what's going on in your body, your thoughts, and your mood, your emotions. And then B would be breathe. And then gather your attention, breathe for a few moments. And then the E is expand. So that's expanding your awareness of your surroundings, the situation, and using your breath to encompass your whole body. And then from there, having gone through those first 4, then the R is respond.
And so with that acronym, that helps to remind them how to go through this process. So will you go through that one more time?
Absolutely. Stop, observe what's happening in your body, your thoughts, and your emotions, and then gather your attention and breathe for a good few moments. And then E, expand your awareness of what's going on around you and using your breath to include your whole body. And then from there, you can see that there are an array of choices as to how to respond and respond having done those first 4 steps?
And, obviously, that is an easy way of getting focused and centered and being very aware of how important the body really is. And let's face it, with addicts, they're more focused typically on urges and cravings and what is in front of them in terms of the future. So this is really a way to stay present in this.
Yes. Yes, and you notice that the very first thing is stop or slow down so that, you can kind of gather yourself before you react to a craving or an urge. You can actually slow that process down. You can slow yourself, and the whole activation that kind of takes off unless it's slowed down. And actually, it helps autonomic.
I think about Dr. Patrick Carnes because you and I were both trained by him.
Yes.
And he did a whole recovery kit based on meditation, based on, being really aware of the present moment. And obviously, people that have been in this field of addictions know that, to stay very focused as well as to be able to know that whatever thoughts, urges, cravings, this too shall pass as long as you acknowledge it and then watch it move away. It's really empowering.
Right. Yes. And it reminds me of the last, actually, we're on the same page, urge surfing. Have you heard of urge surfing, Carol?
No, tell me about that.
Okay. It's a guided imagery that you can actually take yourself through. I guide people through and I record it, and then, they have it. I send it to them. They have it to listen to. It's imagining that desire or that urge as a wave that instead of, waiting for it to toss you about, you actually surf that wave of whatever it is, that's going on, desire, urge, or somehow, reactivity, and you just ride that wave. And actually, you can image this and watch yourself surfing, and, that you, I guess the wave, crescendos or whatever it's called, it crests, and then you kind of take it on through until it subsides. It's exactly what you're saying. It will pass, and there are ways to actually kind of help that along to picture it as, because the ocean, the ocean is always kind of, it builds up and then it kind of subsides.
And so did I hear you then say that one of the things that can be helpful with that is if you can imagine yourself riding that wave as opposed to it sucking you up, actually riding it and experiencing that crescendo so that it does not have the power or the weight that we normally give compulsions.
Yes. And, I guess I know a person would have to have some level of solidity in first of all, in abstinence, to start, in sobriety, so that, that if they imagine, if they stay with whatever is going on inside, the urge or whatever, if they stay with it, that even in their head, that they can actually manage to imagine themselves staying with the feeling for a good 90 seconds, that, I've been told that, say for a craving for food, let's say, you crave ice cream. I've been told that if you allow it to pass in this kind of a way, gently, that 90 seconds and it will go away.
And that's what Patrick
ice
Carnes
cream
says.
is different. Sorry?
I was going to say that's what Patrick Carnes says about sex, that if you can hang with that urge or craving and not let it take over you, but just notice it, observe it. Maybe you're going to do something Zen-like imagine moving it away with your hand, or maybe you're going to tell yourself this is normal, natural, and necessary, and it's not going to last, that it then takes the power away and allows you to breathe through it and move on.
Yes. And what you just said was a combination. What you said was a combination of visual imagery and cognitive grounding, like talking to yourself, reasoning, kind of saying, "This too shall pass." Talking to yourself in such a way that it helps. It helps you telling yourself that I can get through this. I will get through this.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And, it's interesting because everybody has a niche. And for you, you have made it part of your center's offering to provide this mindfulness. Tell us a little bit about Caines Center and how people can visit that website.
Sure. The website is CainesCenter.com. I'll spell that. It's CAINES Center.com. And you'll see when you go there are a whole host of things, which is probably the spinning plates, which is why I think I started to maybe drop a plate or two, because there are a lot of things that I'm interested in. So that is both very positive and also has effects, that I became very mindful of. And so the addiction work is, I would say 65% of my practice is working with sex addiction, and I also am a hypnotherapist, so I work with people who have anxiety or these kinds of things that are much more effectively helped through hypnosis. And I also work with addicts with hypnosis, interestingly, because people sometimes call and say, "Can you hypnotize me to fill in the blank, stop drinking wine?" No, I can't, but I can help with these kinds of things that you and I are talking about, Carol. In other words, slowing down the process and really relaxing your body and mind, so that in the case of hypnotherapy, it's open to suggestions that you, as the person seeking the help, have already identified as wanting to happen. So that is, it can work also for people in certain situations for addicts.
Oh, I 100% agree with you. I, too, am a hypnotherapist, and I believe that people really want to find that power within themselves to make needed changes. And one of the things you and I do when we're facilitating some hypnosis is to give them presuppositions that there will be change. And, of course, they give us the kind of auto-suggestions they'd like to believe in, and that power of looking at life differently, empowering yourself, maybe using some metaphors that are similar to, I'm an Ericksonian hypnotherapist, so I really like the use of metaphors to help my clients make the changes they want to see in their life.
Yes. And this is interesting that you mentioned metaphor, and I'm not sure how much longer we're going to have the pleasure of speaking with one another, but I do want to share that meditation, mindfulness meditation, really meditation has been likened, I think it was John Kabat-Zinn who said this, it's like training a puppy. You're actually training your brain to respond differently. So that practice, I encourage practice, in mindfulness as well as hypnosis, because say the sober breathing. when you're in that high risk or challenging situation, you're not going to think, I'm going to go through these 5 steps, right? So it's really practice. And that's why when a challenging situation does arise, it will just come. And that it's actually uncanny how it does just show up, that you show up that way, responding, in your most resourceful way.
So how long have you been a hypnotherapist?
20 years.
Wow. So mindfulness, hypnosis, you're really a believer in using one's mind and their body to resource them through situations, whether it be anxiety, whether it be addictions, whether it be conflict. You really say go inward.
I love those words, to source themselves. I love that. Yeah. To take themselves into where their best resources are. And it could be, for some people, it could be strength. For other people, it could be calm. And everybody's got all the resources that they need.
Yeah, and that is a strong belief system that I find strategic therapists use gracefully. So I'm going to ask you, do you believe, which I already know the answer, but do you believe that practicing mindfulness helps with the normal facets of life? Do you think that mindfulness can actually help your relationship?
Yes, absolutely. Because what are the most challenging situations that sometimes cause addicts to relapse? Interpersonal relationships, right? Whether it's partnership relationships or work, things that happen at work, or let's say your family of origin, like Thanksgiving gathering. These are the things that, in my experience, I don't know if this has been, do you share this experience also, is that the biggest trigger that that happens. Some type of interpersonal conflict or rupture, that's what that is. So practicing mindfulness, because if you show up like that, having gone, responding from your most resourceful place in relationship, in work, would that not be, the way you want to be and work so much better?
Absolutely. And so do you ever work with partners who've been betrayed from the sexual addiction?
Yes. My focus really is more with the addict, and of course with addicts who are in relationships, you're always working with the partner and all the other areas and other areas of their lives in mind. But yes, most of my work is with the addict.
Okay, I didn't know, because my experience, I'm a partner trauma specialist, and my experience is that they are so activated and so devastated by the chronicity of the sexual addiction or by the acute discovery of sexual addiction. And so I just wondered if you ever use mindfulness with them in your sessions.
My understanding is that people who specialize in, partner work, they have to have some, the therapist has to have some tools that she uses to guide a partner to ground herself, to center herself, to actually of that emotional reactivity, of course, and sober breathing, the 5, that acronym, that would work for her. That would work. I'm using the female because it's just way easier. Because I work with male, men mostly, and so so it really does. I mean, how I think it is helpful for everybody, but especially partners, because that once they are out of that acute discovery and that severe trauma, then they can accept that, yes, I can come to a different place by kind of slowing down the process.
Absolutely. So, Claire, you've been very helpful in describing why an addict in recovery would benefit from practicing mindfulness in addition to just anybody. I mean, that's the beautiful thing. I always say, I'm going to give you techniques that either reduce the stress and anxiety, the anger, whatever the feeling is, or to help prevent those things from occurring when they feel unmanageable. And so, clearly, mindfulness helps to dim it down. And also, I believe when you practice mindfulness, you're less likely to become as activated with urges and cravings. So it really has a twofold approach, doesn't it?
Absolutely, yes.
So as we begin to end the show, is there anything else that you want to add to let our listening audience know how important mindfulness is?
I think you've expressed it, what you just said, expressed it beautifully. And if anybody has questions, there's a contact form on the CainesCenter.com website, and please do feel free to reach out and just give me a shout out, or just ask a question, or say I think this is really important, mindfulness, and I want to learn about it.
Well, and tell everybody what state and city you're located in, just in case you may be in their own backyard.
Sure. I'm in northern New Jersey, so more toward the west. I have 2 locations in northern New Jersey.
Okay, northern New Jersey. And so, again, her website is www.CainesCenter.com. That's CAINES, Caines Center, CENTER.com. And she's just invited all of our listening audience to contact her if you have any questions. Before we leave, can you give 3 book recommendations that help to describe mindfulness and meditation that you really have found beneficial?
The first one that I mentioned is he kind of wrote the book, John Kabat-Zinn, if you know what I mean. It's called Wherever You Go, There You Are, and his first name is Jon, and with that title you will find that book very quickly. And actually, I'm trying to think now what books. Clients recommend books that they've read often, that they like, and I wish I had those titles to just say, here are 3. But that one is good. And he wrote another book also called Full Catastrophe Living, which has to do with mindfulness, particularly when it comes to a chronic medical illness or things like that. But I think that one, and I've recommended Kabat-Zinn's book to other people also, and everybody has really benefited from it.
Got it. Well, thank you so much. You've made this very understandable. It's exciting to hear that this is an easy practice once you practice it. It really can make a huge difference.
Yes. Yes, indeed, and thank you so much.
Absolutely. I want to hear sometime about how you do hypnotherapy with your patients. So I'd love to have you back on the show.
Absolutely, yeah, thank you. Yeah, this has been fun. It's good. And you said that we're just going to talk like friends, and yes, it was great. So thank you.
Absolutely. You have a great week and appreciate your help.
Thank you, and you too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, so again, we have Claire that did a great job of asking questions. I have somebody else on the line that may have a question about mindfulness. Are you there?
Yeah, but I'm listening.
Oh, you're listening to the show. Okay, no questions about mindfulness or meditation. Well, I appreciate you listening to the show. Thank you very much. So, we are working hard at understanding what tools are available to you that you can utilize within yourself, and you just learned about mindfulness and meditation. Hopefully you're practicing it anyway. If not, I truly believe Patrick Carnes says it's one of the most important things you can do, and we all know he's the father of sex addiction, and his recovery kit was based on it. So appreciate you listening tonight. We have more topics next week. We are going to be talking with, I'm just looking it up for us. We're going to be talking to Alan Katz, who has a new book out that he wants to share with us. And, again, I thank all of you for listening to the show, and I want you to know that there will only be one of you at all times. So fearlessly have the courage to be yourself. Have a great week.